Welcome everyone to this explainer. Today, we're heading far above the valleys of northern Italy, way past the ski lifts, and straight into a world of pure ice. We are exploring the Monte Rosa massif, which is the second highest mountain range in the entire Alps, to look at a structure that seemingly defies logic, defies the elements, and honestly, defies time itself.
Okay, let's dive right into this. 4,554. That is the altitude in meters of Punta Gnifetti. And it's precisely on this summit, precariously perched right above the clouds, that you're going to find Capanna Margherita, Europe's highest mountain hut. To put that into perspective, you are nearly 15,000 feet up in the sky.
I mean, at that staggering altitude, the environment is just absolutely brutal. You're dealing with air that contains almost 40% less oxygen than down at sea level. Add in temperatures that regularly plummet below -20 degrees Celsius and winds that can easily blast past 100 kilometers per hour, and you've got a landscape dominated entirely by snow and ice all year round.
Which brings up a pretty fascinating question. What actually happens to the human body at the edge of the sky? How do we survive, let alone conduct complex scientific research in literally one of Earth's harshest environments? Well, in this explainer, we're going to find out exactly how mankind manages to pull this off.
Section 1. An engineering miracle.
To really appreciate Capanna Margherita, we've got to travel back a bit to 1890, when construction actually began on the summit. Mountaineering was booming at the time, and the Italian Alpine Club proposed this seemingly impossible project. After years of grueling, relentless effort, it was finally completed in August 1893. And get this, Queen Margherita of Italy personally visited the hut, presumably not in her standard royal attire, which is exactly how it got its name. Today, modern renovations have made it much safer and more energy efficient, while still keeping its historic soul totally intact.
Just imagine the sheer madness of achieving this before helicopters even existed. Every single piece of wood, steel, and machinery had to be manually hauled up that mountain by human and animal labor. Workers battled freezing temperatures, sudden severe storms, and extreme altitude sickness, all while trying to anchor a foundation directly into solid rock. It's just incredible.
Section 2. The Perilous Journey.
All right, let's bring ourselves back down to the valleys for a second to understand what it actually takes just to reach the front door today. Most climbers kick off their journey in the Italian village of Alagna Valsesia. You can catch a cable car to shave off that initial elevation gain, but after that, you are entirely on your own. The final ascent requires navigating steep glaciers and incredibly dangerous crevasses. And depending on the weather and how well you acclimate, this trek easily takes 2 or more days.
And hey, you definitely can't just hike up there in your sneakers and a windbreaker. Crossing this kind of terrain requires some serious heavy-duty gear. Crampons strapped tightly to your boots, ice axes in hand, ropes to tie yourself to your climbing partners, and helmets to protect against falling rock. We are talking high-stakes alpine action here.
Section 3. Life and Science Above.
So, let's say you've survived the climb and you finally make it to the summit. What does daily life actually look like up there? At sea level, we take something as simple as breathing totally for granted. But up here, that reduced oxygen affects literally everything. Visitors commonly face pounding headaches, extreme fatigue, and dizziness. Because of the weird atmospheric pressure, water boils at a completely lower temperature. Even just climbing a short flight of stairs inside the hut suddenly becomes this exhausting, monumental task.
Because of how inherently hostile this environment is, survival relies entirely on careful planning and logistics. Today, during very brief windows of favorable weather, helicopters drop off essential food, fuel, and emergency supplies. And despite the total hostility right outside the front door, the staff actually manages to provide a warm, safe shelter for exhausted climbers who are crossing those glaciers.
But here's the really cool part. This building isn't just a rugged hotel for climbers. It doubles as one of Europe's highest scientific laboratories. On the medical side of things, researchers are up there studying oxygen deprivation, cardiovascular adaptation, and sleep patterns. And that is data that directly helps patients back down at sea level who suffer from respiratory diseases. Environmentally, its extremely remote location makes it just perfect for tracking complex atmospheric data and shifting weather patterns.
Section 4. A Changing Alpine World.
Now, if we zoom out from the hut to look at the broader horizon, the whole Monte Rosa massif is facing some pretty rapidly accelerating threats. Scientists are observing significant ice loss and accelerated glacier retreat throughout the Alps. What used to be highly predictable snow patterns are shifting, leading to serious geological instability. For climbers, this means that sudden rockfalls and unpredictable crevasse formations are becoming a much more dangerous everyday reality.
Which brings us to a really powerful thought from our source material. Capanna Margherita stands as both a witness and a research platform for understanding these environmental transformations. The data being gathered at this high-altitude outpost is absolutely crucial for understanding the future of our fragile alpine ecosystems.
Section 5. Survival in the Death Zone's Edge. Now, while it isn't quite high enough to be officially classified as the true death zone, human performance up here is severely compromised. When sudden storms hit, they can completely isolate the refuge for days, plunging temperatures far below freezing. And honestly, the heroism of the hut staff just cannot be overstated. They provide a vital lifeline, expertly pulling climbers back from the brink of severe altitude sickness and exhaustion. They have literally saved countless lives.
So to wrap up our journey in this explainer, the legacy of Capanna Margherita is just profound. It represents over 130 years of survival against the fiercest elements nature can possibly throw at us. It remains a glowing beacon for alpine adventure, a vital hub for scientific discovery, and an enduring symbol of human perseverance.
And I really want to leave you with this final thought today. As the climate shifts and the glaciers of the Monte Rosa massif retreat, what does the future hold for our fragile environment at the edge of the sky? Capanna Margherita has stood the test of time, but it's really up to us to learn from the data it provides. Keep wondering, keep exploring, and thank you so much for joining me on this